Prime Minister Modi, why don't you take some questions from the freest press in the world?
Modi doesn't like to do those types of statements in English, so he did not. But at the end, they shook hands, and that's when I decided to raise my voice and try to get a question. And in this time, it was questions about the questions, because there's a lack of questions. So there you I was trying to open the room for the thought that maybe there should be questions here from one of the most, and some answers from one of the most powerful men in the world.
Mr. Modi, do you deserve the trust of our pressefrihet nummer 1 I verden? Det står vi der.
I had that whole many days, and I decided to go for press freedom because it's not like I never read of India before. Like, I read New York Times and I read other international newspapers, and they write about India and they write about, in general, Asian countries. But it's not like I don't wake up every day and read about what's going on in India, you know? So then I decided to zoom in on press freedom, and I knew that they were going to be one.
नमस्कार आदाब दोस्तों, आप लोगों ने एक नाम सुना होगा पिछले कुछ दिनों में, हेली लिंग, नॉर्वे की वो पत्रकार जिसने प्रधानमंत्री मोदी से सवाल पूछ लिया और जवाब नहीं दिया गया, और उसको लेकर पूरे देश में हंगामा, उनके ऊपर बहुत आरोप, और ये सब सिलसिला उनकी तस्वीरें निकाल के सोशल मीडिया पर डाल दी गई। कोई उनको फॉरेन एजेंट बता रहा है, कोई सोरोस का एजेंट बता रहा है। एक सिंपल पत्रकार, और उस यंग पत्रकार ने, युवा पत्रकार ने एक काम तो किया कि भारत में प्रेस कितना आज़ाद है, इसकी डिबेट पूरी दुनिया में उसने जो है वो चालू कर दी। आज हमारे साथ वही यंग पत्रकार नॉर्वे से जुड़ रही हैं, हेली लिंग। Helle, most welcome to you in DB Dialogue. And since our channel is in Hindi language, so off and on, I'll be switching over to Hindi for my own viewers.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. So, first of all, you have been in news, and you also journalists, and we journalists, it rarely happens that, we journalists all become a story himself or herself. So now you are the story. And
it never happened to me before.
And it rarely also happens that a journalist interview a fellow journalist. So that is what happening last 1 week or so with you. You've been to so many media houses. So let's begin from the beginning. That first, what actually happened? See, before, on 18th of May, when you tried to ask a question, response was not given, something happened. And before that, I just want to clarify to our viewers, अपने दोस्तों को हम बता दें कि प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस का मतलब ये होता है कि दो पक्षों के बीच में सवाल जवाब होंगे। आपने अलाउ किया है या नहीं किया है, ये सवाल नहीं है। That is not a question whether you allow someone or not allow. Press conference means two-way communication. It is not that press journalists go there and listen monologues and sermons. We don't have much time for these things. And if that happens, that we can send a camera, record your message, and it can be videoed.
Exactly.
So if there is a press conference, I've seen lots of debate happening. The press conference was not meant for question answer session. It's a bogus question. Press conference is a statement followed by question answers. You can't treat the press like that. So first of all, please recount those initial moments when you become a story.
Well, it was just really a normal day. I walked from my offices in downtown Oslo, walked through the King's Park by the castle, and then I walked up to where the press conference was, and I went in there. I was there early, talked to fellow journalists that were there, and we drank coffee and, just waited. And then I was sitting second row, and the two prime ministers come out, and my prime minister's on one podium and the Indian prime minister is on the other one, and they both had their message and their statement, and my prime minister read it in English, and um, of course, here from one of the most, and some answers from one of the most powerful men in the world.
Your question was very loaded one, Helle. That Norway is number one in press freedom index. India is 157. You compared India with press freedom with other countries, Cuba, etc. And then you ask your question. So did you did your homework before going to the press conference? Who is Narendra Modi? Because we know that he never does a press conference.
Oh
20
yeah,
years
I
in
knew that
office, he
too.
never does a press conference. So did you do
I
some homework before going to there, and then you
Yes, I
decided?
read all the reports, and well, the reason I was asking about press freedom was because that's what I researched in advance. I knew already on Thursday the week before that I think I signed up on Wednesday, actually, the week before. So there was either that or Thursday, and I had that whole many days, and I decided to go for press freedom because it's not like I never read of India before. Like, I read New York Times and I read other international newspapers, and they write about India and they write about, in general, Asian countries. But it's not like I don't wake up every day and read about what's going on in India, you know? So then I decided to zoom in on press freedom, and I knew that they were going to be wanting to talk about the green transition, geopolitical stability, and also yeah, just in general, how our two nations can have trade deals together. And yeah, I decided that my angle was going to be a little bit different.
I've seen when in 1 week's time you become sort of India expert. You tweeted
Oh
about
no,
Congress Party.
no. I'm not an India
You
expert. I've
tweeted
never
about
claimed to be.
Cockroach Party also, Bharatiya Cockroach Party. So
So
you
this
become
is the
sort of.
thing. This is the thing. People ask me about these things in interview, and I follow it, and then I say something like, "Oh, I've seen that. I saw the statements, and I saw that it got a big reach." But I'm not. I'm not claiming in any of these interviews that I'm an expert on anything. But I've just said yes to so many interviews that people will ask me about these things, and I try
You
to
said
clear it in advance and say that
you
I can
said
only
you
talk
researched.
about what happened.
So you said you researched about before going to the press conference on May of 18th. You've researched about India, researched about Prime Minister Modi. So what did you know about Prime Minister Modi? Just give us two, 3 points, his personality sketch, what you researched.
You know what? I'm gonna talk about what I came to talk about and what I told you that I came to talk about, and that was press freedom. And I'm so tired of people questioning my, like, always trying to take away it's not about me. I never wanted it to be about me. I wanted it to be about press freedom in India. So I think if that's what you want to talk about, then we can talk about it. But I'm a little bit like, also, this is my last interview probably. So I'm just gonna be going back to writing about, yeah, exactly. And I'm doing that tomorrow, and I'm spending my last day to do, or we have a holiday today. And I thought this was going to be just a nice and open conversation about press freedom, but I just don't feel like being another interrogation, you know?
No, no, it's not interrogation. I'm just trying to understand. We all go to a press conference, we all interview, and when we conduct interview, we did lots of research before going to the press and to meet the people. It's a normal journalistic practice.
Yeah, but
So,
I said it already so many times. I've said it in so many interviews now that I read the international reports and that I've read news from India about press freedom, and I just don't want to get tangled up in another "you're not an India expert" type of conversation, because I've already been so honest about the fact that I'm not an India expert. So I hope you
So
can understand that.
within few hours, very unfortunate things happened. Within that, within hours of that infamous question and then no response from the press conference, your private pictures from social media, your vacations, etc., have appeared in social media in India by, of course, the supporters of Mr. Modi. And so, how did you react, and how the people in your country reacted on that?
Here it's just business as usual. This is something that's been very interesting for the people, some people, not all people, not even like, I don't think it's that important to most people of India either, because India is a very big country and has a lot of other issues that should get more attention than this. But in Norway, people are just going on with their regular lives. This is not a big thing, at least not for my friends. My mom's a little bit scared, that's all. And my but the environment in general in Norway doesn't really aren't that concerned about this. I don't even think that many people have know about this, you know.
So, as a journalist, you must have known you've been in journalism for so many years, and we know that we journalists annoy lots of people when we write something or when we say something. Of course, it's a usual practice. Nobody is happy, no government welcomes journalists. So, so you must have annoyed few people in your country as well with your reporting. Have you ever been trolled like that? Do you have any previous experience of this kind of activity in your journalistic life?
No, I've never experienced anything like this, and I'm honestly, it's been one of the more overwhelming experiences of my life. I am completely probably drained. I don't think anyone is equipped to handle what happened last week, especially knowing that like I don't have any. I have a really good support network at work, but like for example, for scheduling all these interviews, I've done it myself and tried to keep this calendar going. And but I just think that maybe with the big internet and how it's just unfolding so rapidly, it's weird to like be sleeping but still feeling like when you wake up you're still so tired, you know. But it's okay. It's going to pass. And I'm very happy that we were able to lift the discussion of press freedom in India. That's really all I wanted to do, and the only thing I wanted to contribute with as well. And that's also why I've said yes to almost every interview now, because I just wanted to try to keep the conversation about press freedom going so that journalists reporting from India and other places might get a better work environment. That's important.
See, Helle, we are a very independent media, and the media you're talking to, and people like us, people like our media, they pay a very heavy price to
Exactly.
do their work very, very honestly in India. But I would like to know that what a number one in press freedom index a country look like. How how easily you can go to your parliament? Is there free access to PMO, there your prime minister's office, all these things? So just tell us about these accesses, how free you are in Norway. What a number one
I
country
think
looks like.
I think the parliament question is interesting. Like in Norway, there's you can apply to be like a member of the parliament press, one can call it in English. Like those are the people that can we just have access to the parliament, and we can enter there without having to go through security, and then we just go in there. And we see a lot of high profile politicians, also low profile politicians just walking around, and we can stop them if we want to and ask if they have time. Of course, we can't just go up to them and be like, you have to answer me now, you know. Like it's definitely also like there's etiquette to it as well. But yeah, it's very open, and you can also inquire to have interviews with the prime minister, and he'll also in Norway. It's a little bit also. This is fun to think about for you guys, but or for Indian and also other countries in Asia, but like for Indian media in general, imagine that there's like inboxes, email inboxes, and then the prime minister's team will try to sell stories, you know? So he'll sell a story about like, oh, we got kindergarten prices are down. So you can meet the prime minister at this kindergarten today at 9 a.m. and then he'll meet you there with he'll probably bring like a kindergarten family, and that'll be like a press story, a positive press story, of course, that he wants it to be positive. But then there are room for critical questions. And also in other cases as well, like there was just the opening, like if there's an opening of a building or if there's anything going on, and the prime minister will be there, and also if the king will be there, the king and the of course, you might have heard of the Epstein scandal in Norway going on. There have been instances where the crown princess, like the and also the princess and the prince, has been going places, and the press has showed up to try to ask critical questions about what happened. You know.
So you are also a democracy, and we are also a democracy. And in democracy, every prime minister belongs to a political party, and
Yeah.
political party has political workers, supporters. So, and when you're writing critical, you've been critical to your prime minister, does their political party supporters or their workers attack you after that, or the story appears, or something like that? Does this happen in Norway? Because in India, it's a very common
Oh
practice.
yeah. I think
We,
it does. It does happen, and it's one of those things where, like, a prime minister or even the prime minister's team, it's usually would be, but also just politicians. They'll of course argue beforehand and sometimes afterwards too about stories being published that they didn't like, and they didn't think that the media had good enough, for example, documentation to publish, or there could be wording that they didn't like. And that's for, of course, the journalist and the editor to then evaluate and decide, do the politician or even the businessman, is there something to what they're saying that we should actually consider that more than we have, you know?
so, is it a practice there in Norway, being a number one press freedom, to get the Twitter handles down, to get the videos down by Twitter or Meta, of people who are critical to the government or a politician?
Oh no, so there's no censorship practice among government in Norway, at least. That would be shocking. That's just that would be insane. I think that would be the biggest story, yeah, ever. That would be, yeah, no. Freedom of speech is also online. Today, we more have a discussion about what we're going to do with the trolls of Norway, because there's a lot of trolls in Norway too, and they write a lot of mean stuff and threats as well, and especially to people of a high position. So, yeah, that's crazy.
Are there laws to protect journalists there,
Mm, that's
or
a
not
really
there?
good question. I don't think so. That's a really good question. I don't think there's. So the thing is, for example, let's say I did something wrong and I published something wrong in Norway. We have something in Norway which is called PFU, which is like more like our own um,
That is
law
defamation law.
system.
Yeah.
It's
Those,
it's more
those
like
must be
that, and then
defamation law.
people will complain to that outlet, or like people will complain to PFU if they don't like my story, and then the people of that kind of mini court, one can say, will then evaluate if I did something wrong. And if we did something wrong in our story, we have to publish an apology on our website. But then it's the end of that. And then if something else goes wrong, like if someone doesn't want to use that type of way to criticize a publication, they can of course sue, but it's just not common in Norway. It very rarely happens, and it usually only happens if there's someone with money that actually has the power to sue, because also in Norway, like going through the courts costs about a few 10,000s, if not even more euros. Well, in Norway it's a different currency, but yeah.
Yeah. Here in India, we have very powerful editors body called Editors Guild of India. This is Editors Guild, and all big editors are part of that. That Editors Guild of India issued a statement condemning what happened in Oslo. That you are not allowed to ask questions. Yes, they issued a press release and they issued a statement
Oh,
very strong.
wow.
Yeah. So I'm
Would you send that to me?
yeah, I'll send you. So, and many other journalistic body also issued statements here in India. I'm asking you that you must also been have journalistic bodies in Norway. How they reacted, or your online harassment, putting your vacation picture online, or the kind of the way you have been told, and you've been alleged that you have been agent of Soros and things like this, stuff like that.
So, Reporters Without Borders has issued a press statement about this and the online harassment and some of the stuff going on. But in Norway, it's really business as usual. A lot of my journalist colleagues in Norway have supported me and written that they think I did a really good job. And I'm sure there are others that thought maybe it wasn't the right time. And I respect both opinions.
Going back to the May 18th event, what I have read from various sources, that after the press conference, other prime ministers of Nordic countries, they stayed there and they took lots of formal informal questions with the journalists. What exactly happened out, and was Mr. Modi there or not?
Mr. Moody just left the stage. Well, after they had all spoken, he just left. That was on the second day, and I didn't try to ask him a new question on the second day because I kind of already tried, and it didn't work the first day, and I thought maybe some of my other colleagues should try. And then he just left. But yeah, most of the other Nordic prime ministers took questions from the press. One, like, it was like more like a group setting on the ground. The only prime minister I didn't see take questions was Mette Frederiksen of Denmark.
You were
But she
also
could have done it.
there.
I just didn't see it.
You were
Yeah, but
also
I was
there.
there that day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was there because the second day I was starting already, had done a few interviews, and then I went down there. But that was more to question my prime minister, also about why we call India a democracy if they don't have a free press.
But what did your prime minister say? What your prime
Well, he
minister?
said that he said that India has elections, and we might not agree completely on how they do, for example, press, and how it works there might be different from how we have it, but that yeah, the India does have elections, he said. And then what did I ask him after that? Yeah, I asked him how he views us elevating India's position on the world stage, and if why we should do that given the human rights violations. And I think the prime minister, I don't want to quote him directly, but I've written about this, but he said something in the lines of that we by this cooperation, the two countries can cooperate and learn from each other. And to me, I interpreted that as him also saying, under the lines, maybe that there's some possibility for soft power there, where maybe the Nordic countries can make some suggestions. You don't know. I don't know either. So it's like, but that's what Norway has always thought they have a little bit of a bigger role in the world that they shouldn't have, given the size. We're just such a small country, but we always believed in being a little bit of a soft power in international diplomacy. And our prime minister is very good on foreign policy. It's his specialty.
Okay. And you also been in Mr. C.B. George press conference, the Ministry of External Affairs press conference, which happened
Yeah.
5 6 hours after that. So did you ask question there, and what happened there? Are you satisfied with the answer you've given by Secretary West, C.B. George?
I Well, I tried to ask questions. I also tried to interrupt him when he was deflecting and just talking about India and how they supplied COVID-19 vaccines and also how they did yoga. But or how they invented yoga or gave the world yoga, will be easier to say. Like, I would not try to diminish any of those points. Like, India's done so many great stuff for the world, but he didn't want to look back to or reflect on trust in the light of human rights violation and press freedom. And I think that's important when the Nordic countries are getting behind you and we're going to be growing our economies together. It's so important that we also, like, can the people of India that doesn't like Modi, why, maybe there's some frustration there that or actually I've heard that from Indians after this week, but how can we grow our economies together while you're still doing that? Should we do that? That's a question for the prime minister as well, that I did ask him that. But I think that was what my question to CB George was, that it was a matter of trust, because yeah, it's but I don't think he answered too well, and he went into a very long speech.
Yes. We've all heard that it's a long answer, and some irrelevant facts were given about what about India, and people know about India, what invented India, India contributed in yoga and other things. People are already aware of that across the world. It is not the subject to be brought in the press conference and deflecting the questions. I agree with you. You also approached Rahul Gandhi through a tweet for an interview, the leader of opposition in India. Have you got any response? Are you looking forward for an
No.
interview?
I would be open to it, but I'm also very open for him. Just maybe he can do some interviews, bigger interviews with a lot of news organizations throughout India. I think that would be better anyways. But if he
What
were
would be,
to,
what would be one question we would like to ask Rahul Gandhi? Suppose
yeah,
you get the
I think since I've been talking about press freedom the last few weeks, I would ask him about specific measures he would do to make sure journalists in India feel like they're safe in reporting critically and honestly. So that would be something I would press him on. How would this be different if your party came to power, you know?
thanks for joining us, and wish you all the best in your career and pursuit in journalism. And one your small question which was not answered triggered a very big debate all across the world, especially in India, about the press freedom. So you will be long remembered for that. Thank you very much for joining us.
And I wish I had talked to you earlier this week. That would have been, you would have had me in a little bit more of an energized mode. But thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see you. तो ये हैरी लिंग थी। आप लोगों ने सुना इनका इंटरव्यू। सिंपल अंग्रेजी में था, तो आसानी से आप जिनको अंग्रेजी कम भी आती होगी वो भी समझ सकते हैं। मेन कंसर्न दोस्तों प्रेस फ्रीडम को लेकर है। अभी आपने हैरी लिंग को सुना कि वो पार्लियामेंट कैसे जा सकती हैं, वो अपने पीएमओ कैसे जा सकती हैं, उनका पीएमओ कैसे पत्रकारों को सूचनाएं भेजता है, वो कैसे सवाल पूछ सकती हैं, और सवाल उन्होंने पूछा भी। भारत में, भारत के संविधान में आर्टिकल 19(1)(a) में हमको प्रेस फ्रीडम तो है लिखी हुई, लेकिन यहाँ पे अगर आप लिखते हैं तो वही होता है जो हैरी लिंग के साथ होता है हुआ, कि आपको सोरोस के एजेंट बताएंगे, पाकिस्तान के एजेंट बताएंगे, ट्विटर हैंडल डाउन होगा, एफआईआर हो जाएंगी, और फिर आप कहते हैं कि आप 157th रैंक में अगर आप हैं तो ये भारत के खिलाफ एक बायस है। बायस कहाँ से? अगर कितने पत्रकार जेलों में हैं, कितनों को आप कुछ भी लिखेंगे एफआईआर हो जाती है, कितनों को भी आप देखिए कि ट्विटर हैंडल डाउन हो जाते हैं। तो प्रेस फ्रीडम या फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच जो है वो भारत के लोगों को जीना सीखना होगा, खासकर सरकारों को। तो इस पे हम लोगों की चर्चा फिर भी जारी रहेगी, और बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया इस इंटरव्यू को देखने के लिए। थैंक यू।